Hi everyone, so I'm going to do another little edit using the new newborn actions. I'm going to crop this in before we start, so let's crop it to there. Okay, and then flatten. So I'm going to go to my actions and I'm going to use the lighter base. I'm going to turn down the opacity. Let's turn it down a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to leave it there. Let's turn that off and on so you can see. Then I'm going to use the colour base, warmer. I'm going to use the warm one. And I'm just going to turn down the opacity slightly. So I'm going to turn down the opacity to 54%. So I'll turn that off and on. What a gorgeous base that is. I don't have to do much to the colour there. Then I'm going to lift the shadows. So I'm going to go to my white brush at 50% opacity and I'm just going to lift the shadows on the face here just a little bit. Let's turn that off and on. So the shadows are just a little bit softer. Let's just do the hand as well. And the bear. There we go. In fact, while we're at it, let's do the feet. Okay. Then I'm going to paint on light. So I'm going to use a 30% opacity brush. And I'm just going to mask down his face to brighten his face a bit. And then around his clothes. Let's brighten these pumpkins up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to switch to my black brush. Just take a little bit off the chest there and a little bit off the nose. Just there. There we go. Then I'm going to zoom in to see if we need to use the Beau blemishes, which we do. So I'm going to click that. We'll see what this does. Okay, so we can still see a couple of blemishes here. So I'm going to turn down the threshold. Let's turn the radius up a little bit. So we want to make sure we can still see skin texture. So I'm going to use that 20 and 10. Every image is different. I'm going to switch to my white brush at 100% opacity and I'm going to mask on the blemishes. Sometimes you can find that in one area it needs a different amount than the other, which is fine. You can just play it twice. Or you can come down and use Beau blemishes extra. Just make sure you're using a small brush to just click over the blemishes and you're not masking it all over the skin. Okay. Oh, that was a blemish. It's something on my screen. So then I'm going to go to either perfect smooth skin or extra smooth skin. Choose one or the other. I'm going to choose perfect smooth skin for this one. Extra smooth is just extra smooth. Don't forget you can use your opacity slider on your layer so you can turn it up or down. Well, in fact, this one you can't turn up, but you can turn it down. On the extra smooth, you can turn it up and down. So this action will work different on each image. If your subject is a little bit further away, then it will be a bit stronger. If your subject is really close up and it's a close-up shot, then it will be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to turn that down a bit. I don't want it super smooth. So turn that down to 43%. Random number, but that's what I've chose. Then we have Beau Magic Beau skin, Magic Beau pale skin, and Magic Beau dark skin. Now, I wouldn't use dark skin on this baby. So I'm going to use one of these two or both together. So let's click the top one. And then I'm going to mask it on at 50% opacity. So don't forget those hands as well. I'm going to turn that off and on. You can see the difference there. And then sometimes I will use pale skin as well as that, or sometimes I'll use it instead of. But if I'm using it as well, I'll switch my opacity down. So I'm going to turn that off and on so you can see I've just used it on the face. It just lifts the skin a little bit. Then I'm going to, instead of coming down and using skin pop, I'm going to come down and I'm going to use Newborn Glow. And I'm going to mask that on the skin and the hands. And I'm also going to bring it onto the pumpkins and add a little bit of glow to the pumpkins as well. I'm going to just switch to my black brush and just bring a little bit off there. Okay, then this baby was a little bit darker skinned, and he will have darker skin as he grows up, so I am just going to warm his skin up a little bit. So I'm going to go to warm skin and switch to my white brush, and I'm going to use it at 30% and just mask that on and turn it off and on to make sure that I'm happy, and I am. Then if we had any red areas, I would be fixing those. Quite happy that baby's not too red. We've got baby blush, warm the shadows, so you could warm these shadows up, warm the highlights, so you could warm the highlights up if there was more cool. Skin pop, I will show you that. I'm not sure how it will look on this gorgeous boy. I'm just going to make sure my brightness is right. Yeah. Okay, so let's, oh yeah, I like that. That's lovely. So I'm going to turn that off and on. And always make sure you mask on the hands and feet as well to make sure that they are matching. So we've got that little pop in the skin. And then this I absolutely love. The Amore action, it's paint on and you bring that beautiful texture in the skin, nice sharpness and clarity. So I'm going to mask that on. I'm just going to switch to my black brush and just take a bit off the shadows. So we've got those nice soft shadows. I'm going to turn that off and on so you can see. So we've got that beautiful, and you can soften areas around, so you can soften the chin a little bit. Make sure them shadows are nice and soft. And just around there. Fabulous. And you can mask that all over. You don't just have to mask it on the skin. You can bring some sharpness to the clothing, to this if you wanted, to the pumpkins. Okay, then we have soft in the spotlight. It wouldn't work on this image, it just adds a nice spotlight on the image. It's nice and soft. Then we've got reduced reds extra, reduced purples, and reduced jaundice. Sharpen the details. So for the 2 minutes that this baby was actually asleep, I can show you how I would use this image on him. So look at those gorgeous eyelashes. I'm going to make my brush nice and small, and I'm going to stick at 60% and just mask that right along the lash line. And then I'm going to drop down to 30% and just mask a little bit on the lips. So you can see that's nice and sharp. Now if I turn that off and on, you can definitely see the difference there and how sharp it is. Then we have desaturate. So if you wanted to drain a little bit of colour, and make sure you use the opacity slider. I really love this action. It's not just a simple bring the saturation down. I really love it. I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to leave it on, and I'm going to mask it off the pumpkins. And I'm also just going to mask a bit off this colour here. Turn it down a tiny bit more. There we go. Lovely. Okay, So then we have smooth the backdrop. So if it was on a beanbag, then you can smooth the backdrop. Then we have the finishing actions, and I think I'm going to use number 1 on this. Yeah, I definitely am. I'm going to turn down the opacity. Let's turn it down to there. I'm going to switch to my black brush at 50% opacity. I'm just going to lift these shadows a little bit. So I'm literally just masking a bit off to lift the shadows a little bit. Okay, then we've got the matte and the dark matte. So that's dark matte. And then I would, at 50% again, just mask off Baby. And then you can turn down the opacity as much as you wanted. So that's that one. And then we've got, sorry about my coughing, just a normal matte layer. Let's turn that off and on. Again, you can change your opacity slider. I'm going to turn dark matte on. Let's turn it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to flatten and take a snapshot. And this is before and after. Before and after. And we also have the black and white. So you can pick any of them. There's quite a few to choose from. There's 5 to choose from. And you pretty much won't have to do anything, any other adjustments other than click the black and white. Let's try number 3. I think we've tried them all. That's a nice bright matte. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, and I really hope you're enjoying your newborn actions. Take care, everyone.